Peace, family. I just want to make something clear real quick. But before I do that, you know, you listening to G Consciousness Live, and as y'all know, it's 2:39 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3:39 on the East. So you know what it is. Want to bring out some real quick things and play a little bit of this clip from Josh's documentary. Now, this documentary is really good. You can find this at Absolute Bible Truth store, and as well as some other items. And basically, the documentary is entitled "The Secret Gay Agenda Among the Kemetic Conscious Community." The secret gay agenda among the Kemetic Conscious Community. And then he also has a couple of other documentaries that you can download right there on the spot if you want to, as well as this documentary. Now, once again, Absolute Bible Truth store. You can type that in, Google it in, go straight to the store and get the download. It's only $12, I believe, at this moment. So get it while you can, because it might be going up to 15, which is not a big difference. But, you know, you get 4 hours of content. So it's very good. I suggest y'all go and get that. Just want to play a little clip from it. You know, we did a little class tonight. Well, not a class, but a discussion with the Amun-Ra squad over there. And basically, you know, I brought out some of the things from his book or his documentary, and just a little bit of what I've seen, you know. And I didn't want. I just hope I didn't misrepresent anything that he brought out. But for the most part, let me give y'all some of the version or some of the clippings that's in his book, that's in his documentary, or this download. So without further ado, I'm going to screen share, and I am going to go into, matter of fact, I'll just go into the clipping. Go back a little bit right there. All right.
Counterpart.
Because we're talking about homosexuality.
Give me Isaiah when it says
You have to have a counterpart. Go in, huh? Yo, how God had jump. I'm sorry. Come on. You got it. Now, but I'm giving you the time to talk. And he jumped. See how you got it? You jab me. Go ahead. If you're saying that God is the gender doesn't matter, right? According to Genesis chapter 6, verse 3.
I didn't speak about gender. I said he doesn't have to have a woman.
No, hold on. Right? You're saying that he doesn't have to have a woman counterpart. But God, in Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, right? Beni Elohim, he has sons that come down and have sex with human beings.
That's a lie.
It says it in the book.
That's a
The
lie.
sons of God saw that the daughters of men were Tell him what's up. Genesis chapter 6, verse 3.
Hey, what about that claim that our brother Nazi Yasharel did with the breasted, right? I'm gonna make sure over the weeks. Remember, he presented. I don't know, man. He presented the damn breasted shit, talking about the homosexuality. You know that part? What was it? It wasn't CT 700. What did he do? Conference what? Yeah, let's address that real quick.
See, I got all this work in my book, Magi Handbook for the Conscious Community. This what happened. It came out February 8th, right? But for the people who pre-ordered it, I'm only sending it to y'all. Everybody else gonna have to wait. Since y'all didn't want to pre-order, you see what I'm saying? That's how it works. But look, it's Pyramid Text 635. Man, I would have did that in under 5 words. They look stupid. They talking about sodomy was a way to gain power in Pyramid Text 635, right? But check this out. The lady buried in that coffin, yes, the lady. It was a woman's coffin. So how, if you propose that the coffin text said that this woman was supposed to sodomize somebody in the afterlife, how was that to happen if she could not become ichthyphallic? Huh? It's silly.
It's about money. Nigga, I think niggas be hating because they got to go to work. And entrepreneurs right here. And see, check this out. I can't get. Hold on, son. Hey, son. Right. So watch this. Right, but hold on. Let me get this straight. Let me let y'all understand what's really going around this motherfucker, yo. Niggas right here, yo, we sacrifice working a job, dog. You can't work a fucking job and do like this and do all this shit, man. White man, you think a white man gonna let me work for him? He go to my Facebook page. Hell no, you revolution this motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? How the fuck you think we eat around this motherfucker?
That's right. Motherfuckers be mad you can speak, excuse my language, cats sometimes will get mad that you can even speak freely on your public platform. They be like, you said that on Facebook? I be like, I ain't got nobody to answer to. You know what I'm saying? But dudes, with no disrespect, we all gotta have a job, a way to feed our family. But you gotta notice how that also they socially engineer you into a little good. Anybody want to portray the Pharaoh's workers or slaves or anything? That's just not looking at any primary text. But here goes something that we learn. When we start talking about the tales of Horus and Set and all the deviants and all the stuff, what we finally learn is a lot of these stories are foreign injections. 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 I mean, and I can prove it. But I'm going to give them some information that nobody gave them since they always talking about the contendants of Horus and Set. They need to look this up and find out that the contendants of Horus and Set was found in the...
Holy shit, nigga, I know we're in New York. What's going on, son?
Horus and Set was found in Deir el Medina, and that was a Canaanite city, and that was a Canaanite city, and that was a Canaanite city, and that was a Canaanite city. It was actually found in a guy named Nyaket, I got his name right here in the book, but in Nyaket's tomb. Okay, so this was like a Canaanite text. They found it in DML El Medina. But
it's called something my yacht.
They said John or DeBar. What's the name of the place? Oh, that's the other place.
No, that's the urban name.
Okay, but so this is why I want to read a few sources for a few things that people seem to have never seen before.
That's where that papyrus comes from.
That is where that papyri come from. The village workers in Deir el Medina.
Yeah.
And that was Canaanites, majority. It was a few Nubians too, but like I said, they would come into Kemet looking for work as day laborers. I can read it straight from the book. I can take y'all to the primary, but I want to read something else as a reference to homosexual behavior and us not having laws against that. I quoted Turin Papyrus 120.6, where it reads, and we can even find it in this book, The Pharaoh's Workers, where it reads, there is even death of a man who acts as a woman and vice versa. It said, which looks like a reference to homosexual behavior. And this is not the primary again, because you got to check the primaries before you put out some work that a book say. It's the Turin Papyrus. But I want to read something else as a reference to homosexual behavior and us not having laws against that. I quoted Turin Papyrus 120.6, where it reads, and we can even find it in this book, The Pharaoh's Workers, where it reads, there is even death of a man who acts as a woman and vice versa. It said, which looks like a reference to homosexual behavior. And this is not the primary again, because you got to check the primaries before you put out some work that a book say. It's the Turin Papyrus 120.6. So when they act like we didn't have these real life functional laws, again, let me read it. Death of a man who acts as a woman. So y'all just be tripping. Now let me tell y'all something. I really want that.
What letter is that?
Pardon me? This is actually Osiris giving out these commands. Osar, Wuser. So we know him as Wuser, you know what I'm saying? Just another great ancestor, but like he said, the nature was Osar, Osiris, or User putting this out. So acting like this was not decreed, called the Jew a Typhonian in such a strong chapter that you can just Google the Jew a Typhonian, and you'll find out that everything that's set in body, this is why I didn't want to tear y'all off like that. Everything that's set in body was actually a personification of you, or the Hebrew in Kemet. I can prove that 100%. You need to research the riots of Alexandria around 38 CE, and we'll find out they called Jews and Greeks Xenophoroni. Why don't you look up Xenophoroni? Xenopho ROI. So Zono Ferroi. And you'll find out they was called girdle wearers. That was called evil. They were evil girdle wearers, and there was an oracle called the Potter's Oracle against the Typhonians or the Setians or the Zono Ferroni or the girdle wearers who was doing all this wicked stuff in Kemet. Now, what we gonna do about that? Yeah, for real. Because y'all been sitting around all this time asking us to explain who is a set, and we was like, no, we don't want to do that. See, a lot of this is high science that it don't even require us to reveal a lot of this history.
When are you gonna reveal this to all your people, Unc? When are you gonna tell them that your entire squad is named after two homosexual deities? But while we're on the subject of the god Ray or Ra, let me read you something else homosexual about him. This is from the coffin text, spell 548. And the purpose of this spell is to not bury a man to the east in the realm of the dead. And it's funny how these conscious groups try to make fun of the Bible, calling it a spooky book or a book of spookery, and act like the Egyptians didn't believe in spirits and the afterlife. In fact, in another video, I'm going to show you that the Egyptians were some of the biggest spiritualists in the history of creation. These guys really don't seem to know anything about Kemet. All they're doing is regurgitating that crap that they've heard from people like Dr. Clark or Ash Rockway. That's all they're doing. They don't really study Kemet. I mean, really study it. Because if they did, they wouldn't be saying some of the stuff that they say. But this is what it says. O you phallus of Re or Ra. So now we're starting out talking about the phallus or the penis of Re, Ra, which goes awry for him in uproar. The inertness of which comes into being through Bobby. And Bobby was a baboon god. And it makes so many references to his phallus in the ancient Egyptian texts. It's not even funny. But let's get off into something else. But it continues. May I be stronger thereby than the strong ones. This is what the spell is supposed to help to achieve. Mightier thereby than the mighty ones. This is for the deceased. If I be taken and ferried over to the east, this is what the deceased is saying will happen to him if he be ferried over to the east in the realm of the dead. In order to carry out wrongful slayings on me in the festival of those who rebel against me, by smiting my horns, this is what's going to happen to him if he is allowed to ferry to the east in the realm of the dead. Listen to this. I will swallow for myself the phallus of Re and the head of Osiris when I have been guided to the tomb of the decapitation of the gods, that they may make answer there. This is one of the penalties if a man is ferried to the east in the realm of the dead. He will have to swallow the phallus of Re or Ra. That's homosexual, sisters and brothers. This is one of the penalties that you have if you die again in the realm of the dead. You have to swallow the phallus or penis of Re. In other words, Re gets to deep throat you. This isn't homosexual. This is one of the penalties. You have to swallow another male deity's penis. And don't think for 1 second that I haven't heard polite rebuttal to this homosexual spell. In fact, he claims that Hashar made the whole thing up. He claims that the homosexual declarations.
Okay, fellas. Now, as you can see, that is just basically basically a little bit of some of Josh's information. You know, I stated before, you can buy this at Absolute Bible Truth store, and it is the secret gate agenda among the kemetic conscious community, and you can get that at Absolute Truth Bible store. And so, you know, once again, we had that little discussion tonight, and I brought out a little bit of the information on the Amara Squad on the Real Black Atheist YouTube channel, and we dealt with a little bit of those things. And like I said, I didn't deal with it to its entirety because I didn't have my notes or things like that before me, but I just wanted to give you a little clipping of that. You can purchase that, download documentary for $12. An Absolute Truth Bible Store. Absolute Truth Bible Store. I mean, it's clear that, you know, Jonathan avoided a lot of those things, and he was asked about spell 700, or the coffin text, you know, 700, and he jumped from that and then jumped over to the coffin text of 635. So, you know, we seen him basically do that, and Josh definitely mentioned that. So make sure y'all check out the Real Black Atheist latest discussion that he had concerning Jonathan's book, and also dealing with some of the questions that was asked and how it was answered. I mean, it is plain and simple. When you listen to Jonathan speak, he's very contradictory. He has a lot of circular reasoning, and it's clear that when he was speaking tonight, one part is that this is from the Horus and Seth contentions. This is basically these contentions is basically Asiatic or foreign influence, basically, from the Horus and Seth. But we also have it in the Middle Kingdom, as I mentioned earlier today, in the Middle Kingdom on a papyri among what's the brother's name, Kanun, and also one of the other guys' name. So that's in the Middle Kingdom. So these stories are actually earlier than what we see in the Late Kingdom or in the New Kingdom, basically. So that's something that needs to be noted and, jotted down just as well. I think that he said something about Satyr. What Satyr mean? Your Satyr stories where people are trying to convey certain things. And matter of fact, let's get a definition to that, because he talked about that. But I think that you can get a story about to somebody without using homosexual basically concepts, or trying to convey something through homosexual deeds and actions. I don't know, why would he think that is the best teacher? But when you start reading the contentions between Horus and Seth, and also pyramid text, coffin text 700 and also 635, then you can see that clearly these homosexuality things need to be dealt with. He talked about 635, and also we talked about some of the contentions of Horus and Seth being found in a certain city that's in Egypt, and not realizing that also that he mentioned the Torah text, or the Torah, which was we see that also was found in the same place. So I don't know why he mentioned that as if that proves that this was Asiatic or foreign thought or concepts. And once again, we also have certain things mentioned in the Middle Kingdom just as well, of the Horus and Seth contentions. So let's look up Satyr, because he said something about satire. Let's look up and really see what does it express. What does it express? Satire literature. Okay, I'm looking this up. Just Googled it and looked up satire definition. Basically, it says the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, or particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues, right? mockery, ridicule, derision, scorn, right? So I'm looking at this, right, and this is what he said that the contentions of Horus and Seth is like, and also certain aspects of when we dealing with the text 635 and 700, I believe. Now, not to mention that Horus is also used as a figure of the king just as well. So whenever you see Horus, just remember he's figurative for the kings just as well, and also other basically, that's, I mean, if you don't know that, then I don't know what else to say. So you have your Horus kings basically. So that's explained just as well within this documentary too. So my question would be is, as I asked tonight, which I got circular reasoning and all types of crazy answers and contradictory answers that contradicted each other, and just going and all around and jumping everywhere, and philosophical mess for reals. Philosophical and circular reasoning tonight is all what Jonathan actually gave. Now, why would you want to take a satire story and you say that it's exaggeration or irony or humor and write these things in a manner of contentions or homosexual contentions, basically, to exaggerate or to ridicule or expose a person's criticize, and then also, if that is the case, why would you make the point to point out? Why would you make a point and point out that this was foreign? This was something that was foreign. How do you say influence? Basically, foreign influence. Why would you do that? Why would you waste your time to do that and to explain that? If that was a foreign influence of this satire writing, it doesn't make any sense. Why did he waste his time and also talking about compilate between a person's hinder parts? All the excuses he gave tonight. I want you guys to go out and check out the Real Black Atheist, the latest class that he had concerning the work, the conscious community book. I think I forgot what he labeled it, but it's his latest show, the Conscious Community book, basically, that Jonathan wrote, and then it has Josh's name mentioned in it. Go out and check that out and listen to it. I know it's 6 hours, but before just dump bits and pieces of it because it starts off early, but you want to key in when it starts getting towards the questions when I'm asking about these contentions, about spell 700, and also about 700 coffin text, and also about the 635 coffin text just as well. So let me read a couple of these things to you, what was brought out tonight, and some of the things, the translations that he actually gave, to reiterate. Now I'm going to be quoting from the ancient Egyptian coffin text by Faulkner. And this one, for instance, is, let me read this spell 700 for you. Within the coffin text, it says, "O man shall be among the living, O ye, or O you who are between the two cows of Gib, I escape thence, and Gib is cleansed. He will grant to me his appearing in glory, and I will put down for me the plant that is between his lips. His foulest is between the buttocks," right? That's what it says. Between the buttocks of his son and if there be not a son for a man, he will act behind the back of the daughter of the phoenix, right? So that was what was said or quoted tonight, and Jonathan basically jumped around that. Says his phallus is between the buttocks, right? So he jumped around that of his son and So basically, he said phallus, I believe, meant so not so much as a, I think he said it's passing down of I forgot the word that he used, but just go listen to it and how he broke it down, and check that out. But that was one of the spells that we seen of 700. That he said that he translated it this way, besides how Faulkner translated it his way. So something is a phallus is still in between something. Then you have the symbol of the phallus that's there is that we was questioning, and then also you have the term buttocks, which he says that is a meat. It's a piece of meat, and in between the meat is a bone. And so this is where he talks about a certain aspect of being lineage or something of that sort. So just check it out, because I don't want to misquote him or anything, right? So then this is the other spell that we mentioned, which is the coffin text by Faulkner, and Faulkner's translation, which is Ra has no power over me. This is spell 635. Ra has no power over me, and it is I who take away his breath, right? So this is individuals. He says he has no part over me, and this is I who take away his breath. Atum has no power over me, and I compilate in his hinder parts, basically. So he says that this was he says that it really says I violate his hinder parts or hinder parts. He says that this was a woman's coffin, and so therefore, how can, if it's talking about to copulate, how can a woman copulate in the hinder parts? But yet and still, it definitely says I copulate in his hinder parts, and he put forth his definition of what copulate should mean. But once again, you have to go listen to it, because he jumped around some stuff, and I don't know. So in response, I grabbed some other texts within the coffin text that was translated by Faulkner that deals with that very same usage as spell 427. To eat with the mouth, to defecate with the hinder parts, to be equipped to have power over water. So basically, we see that defecate is being done with the hinder parts, and he gave forth a translation of hinder parts, which means, I believe he said eretz or something like that, and he said it has a determinative to give you, he never really showed that within the text, but he says it has a determinative, so to give you determine what is what, if it's hinder parts, because it has different meanings, hinder parts, hinder quarter, and also anus. Now, as it was stated tonight, one knows that one defecates from between his anus, out of his anus, and also his hinder part, or quarter parts, or whatever, however you want to put it. He still defecate out of this area, mainly his anus, and then it comes out through the other parts. So both of these can be used definitely. So when you jump back to spell 35 and you look at it, it says Atum has no power over me, and I violate his hinder parts. So, or compilate his hinder parts. So to violate somebody or compilate within somebody's hinder parts is basically talking about you're you in the back of him doing something. You still back there, you still doing something. Now he made up some other excuse that was, I mean, really out of the way. And I don't know, go listen to it, but it was really ridiculous. He was really just reaching everywhere. So then not only that is you have also matter of fact, let me see something real quick because I know that let me see this real quick. Hold on. Let me see this real quick. All right, so you have also and peace to the family in the chat room. Okay, so you have this spell 427, and you also have spell 574, which I didn't get a chance to mention tonight because of all the rambling, and people interrupting. Basically, you had Garfield on with the Easter suit coming in, interrupting. He doesn't even really deal in this area, so I told him he ought to stick to just driving cabs. And then other people coming in. You had Alvin coming in, and I don't know what Alvin was basically doing. He just needed to just stick to photography and making videos, and that's about it. And he needed to just stick to the direct cut. So, anyways, it says spell 574. I will eat with my mouth. I defecate with my hinder parts because I am God. So once again, you see the usage of this, and it's still dealing with hinder parts. And so he never showed the determinative within this just as well. He didn't actually, go to really anything to show where these determinative was when it comes to reading these things. Not that I asked him several times, but he's real long-winded, and he kept on just going everywhere. Then we also have another one translated by Faulkner, which is spell 701, to eat with his mouth and to defecate with his hinder parts. So this is simple. So then, it was brought out tonight, that this spell 635 is translated by Adrian D. Buck. Ra has no power over me, for I am he who takes away his breath. Itum has no power over me, for I copulate between his buttocks. So this was translated by Adrian D. Buck, basically. So then we also have, some other things that was mentioned tonight, but we don't need to go into that because, Josh brought that out in the clip that I just showed you guys. So then we have the Putri papyri, or the heretic papyri from Qanun and Garub, right? So this is in the Middle Kingdom. And so in the Middle Kingdom, we see that in this book, or in this papyri was found, which is from Qanun and Garub. It says, the majesty of Seth said to the majesty of Horus, how beautiful are thy buttocks, how flourishing. The majesty of Horus said, wait that I may tell it to their palace. The majesty of Horus said to his mother Isis, Seth desires to have intercourse with me. So now it is evident that we are talking about intercourse, and who conveys stuff like this, especially dealing when it comes to homosexuality. It makes you wonder, who is this graphic but a perverse person? Why would you want to convey things in this manner? Why would you want to do it? That's just perverseness, and it's a possibility that that person is definitely a homosexual. Because who thinks of silly stuff like this? But somebody to sit around. Well, they didn't have to be sitting, like Jonathan said. You know, but who just thinks of it? Who conveys this? I'm pretty sure that nobody or Jonathan is not sitting around trying to convey a message to his peers through homosexual satire. That doesn't make any sense. And if he is doing that, I will have to question him and say, hey, brother, why are you trying to get a message about through homosexual gesture? That's what it is. Why would you be trying to get a message about through homosexual gesture? A satire. Why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? You could bring a message another way, but if you keep making all these homosexual jokes, you know, that will let me know that you know what you're doing, and you also know what homosexuality is, and so that it is evident that, you know, you're not basically ignorant to that. So I will have to ask that person that. Why do you keep making all these homosexual jokes? And why are you trying to convey these messages through homosexual stories or tales? Doesn't make any sense. Only way that this takes place if you have some type of homosexuality within you, or you are a perverted person. Either way it go, you cannot count both of those out. Both of those things have to be examined and looked at. He says, and she said to him, take care, do not approach him for that. When he mentions it to thee a second time, say thou to him, it is altogether difficult for me because of my nature, since thou art too heavy for me, and my strength will not be equal to thine. Thou shalt say to him, then when he shall have given thee strength, do thou place thy fingers between thy buttocks. Lo, it will give. Lo, he will enjoy it exceedingly. So basically telling him to, you know, do these homosexual deeds, basically. I mean, there is no getting around this. You know, you can't use these texts like this and not see that whoever is conveying this is perverted and also is dealing with homosexuality. You cannot get away from this. Like, this is simple. And so this brother tonight, you know, danced around these texts and, you know, said that the horse and self-contentions was basically, you know, a foreign influence, so to speak. But we also have an earlier text, as I mentioned earlier, which is the text of Kanun. The text of, let me see, what was that? The text of, from the Hieratic Papyri from Kanun and Garub. So this was in the Middle Kingdom when you look these things up. So we have something earlier, you know, so it's a lot of things that's being said here. And I think that for the most part, you know, in conclusion, you know, we have to look at it and say that these people that was writing these things, they are the ones who was writing these things and putting them on the coffin text. And it could have been they were doing it at the request of the people who was in the coffins, but still someone is writing these texts and they're trying to convey something. And if they trying to convey it through satire, gesturing, joking, or dealing with homosexuality, that is still perversion. And that is still homosexuality, because I don't need to tell homosexual jokes or gestures, you know, basically just to convey something. I don't need to do that, you know. And once again, satire is the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices. Now, these are grown men here. I mean, I don't need to do this. If I want to get a point across I can get a point across another way. I don't have to exaggerate it with irony or humor, right? Especially when we dealing with a subject that's dealing with homosexuality or with, a man copulating between another man's buttocks. I don't have to do any of that. So I just wanted to bring out those things and some of the things that Jonathan said. Go listen to it, man, because it's really ridiculous when you listen to it. And I can't believe that this brother would even be arguing these things and going back and forth with somebody about these gay contentions, because it's just gay. And I'm pretty sure we talked about also with Gib bending over backwards or in some type of twist or turn with his penis facing his face. I don't really know what to say to that, because I didn't really see a twister mat up under him. So I don't know why would he be twisted up like that in the first place, because I don't think there was a game board or a twister mat up under him where he was just twisted up on colors, basically. So so I look at that and have to say, and then you have Newt, and he's over him, and then you have his penis striking down, through, almost touching, Gibbs' head, basically. So it's just a really graphic picture. You know what I'm saying? It's a graphic picture because you have phalluses like super close together, and one of them bent over and twisted up like a knot with his penis facing his face. So, I mean, this is just really ridiculous, and I have to speak on things like that. And so, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? But I know one thing, it should be back to those tags, because, we should understand that those things is not something that should be, looked at or viewed. So, this is simple, man. Like, I know it's late. I know people sleep. I should have did this a little bit more in the daytime, but hopefully you guys will get the picture of what I'm trying to say and really look at these things and take these things in consideration. This is something not to play with. When you are a writer, when you're writing a book or whatever you're writing, a message, whether if it's be on a coffin, pyramid, or whether if it be on a papyri, this is something that you're trying to convey to the people. So this is your mindset. And the way these guys was talking tonight, they're talking like that no one is writing this stuff. They're talking like gods are straight writing this stuff. No, when it's actually the people that's writing this stuff about the gods. So they acting like those people are infallible to homosexuality. That's retarded. They acting like the priesthood was just so strict and that they followed all the laws. We got laws right now, and I'm pretty sure that every individual that's in America don't follow them all. Make the laws. So, I mean, that has to stop, and that's just stupidity. At one point of time, we see that probably Egypt was straight up, and the priest probably, but I don't really know. But for the most part, the way these texts look at in the Middle Kingdom, we have these stories of horse except the contentions, and they are really gay. And not just the contentions, the spells are really gay. 635 and 700. This is really homosexual activity. 635 talking about hinder parts. And Jonathan want to say, well, this was found in the coffin text where a woman was in. That women that was in Egypt that was putting weave beards on their face that was acting like men. You know what I'm saying? That they was depicted as men with weave beards on their face. So, I mean, that's kind of weird within itself. So maybe she did think that she could strap on a dildo or copulate in between somebody's buttocks. I mean, you have to think of that. But not only was it found on that coffin text, it was still found on the male coffin text. So when you got women that's in Egypt that's wearing fake beards on their face, you know what I'm saying, and it's taking a position of what a man's supposed to be in, then you have to look at that too. We got women today, they want to put on strap-ons and play the role of a man. So they would think they can copulate. And the story is basically for some type of entertainment and personal reasons. So you can view that and look at that as somebody saying this homosexual stuff. Now, you know, he says there's no difference between that than the Horus and Seth conflict. He said that there's a difference between that and the Horus and Seth conflict, but there's not. Both of these stories are dealing with phalluses and funny play and homosexual play. And a lot of these stories have something to do with hinder parts, somebody getting behind somebody and belittling somebody. And in this case, it was Seth practicing the homosexual act on Horus and getting behind Horus and his hinder parts and making him bow down, you know what I'm saying, and basically making him the considered to be the homosexual when really both of them was. And we see this today. You know, people think that if you run up in another man, that you take his strength and he's a weaker guy and he's lesser, and they think that they're not gay, that the one who got done is gay. No, both of you guys are gay as a homosexuals. So we see that the person who is in the position to get analyzed is a weaker person than the person that's analyzing the person. This, you know, and that's weird to me, you know, to see this person in a vulnerable position and getting sodomized. So I just wanted to bring that out. Make sure y'all click and subscribe on the page. Make sure y'all check out all my other classes just as well. Peace and blessings to those that are out there. Shouts out to Debate Talk for You, South Showtime. Make sure y'all check out this season because it's going to be hot. And also check out his YouTube page just as well, South Showtime. Check out Josh Absolute Bible Truth Store. And make sure y'all go and comp that information, man, that documentary. Go comp it. It's some good information. And with that being said, I just want to say peace and blessings to the family out there.